Hey guys, today I just wanted to show you guys my monitoring setup that I've deployed with Ansible. So I'm running Grafana, Loki, Prometheus, all behind a HTTPS and basic authentication nginx reverse proxy. So I can show you guys what it looks like with this little diagram. So as you can see here, we have, as you can see here, we have a few things set up. We have two nodes. We have a monitoring node. So this does the bulk of our monitoring work. It does our data scraping and log sort of collection. So that runs a few services. It runs Prometheus, which is a log scraping service, so it goes out and it pulls logs from a service. Sorry, I just realized you can't really see that. Prometheus. Then we have Loki down here, which is a log ingestion service, so things give logs to Loki. Then we have Blackbox, which is for black box monitoring. So for HTTP, so I use it for HTTP request monitoring, so I see how long it takes to complete a HTTP request. Then we have SNMP exporter, which is for SNMP monitoring. So I have some MikroTik routers, which I have configured to use SNMP v3, so that's with authentication and encrypted in transit. Then also there is a technology called CADvisor, which lives on my worker and my monitoring nodes, which just tells me some metrics and about the state of Docker on that machine. We also have Node Exporter down here, which is it displays metrics about a node. It displays like status metrics about a node, so CPU usage, disk usage, RAM consumption, all that kind of stuff. Then we also have the Docker metrics server down here, which just exposes more information about Docker metrics. And then we have the Promtail agent, which is configured to scrape logs from var log. From var log and also from some locations where I stand up containers and get them to write their logs to those locations. So that's the monitoring node, and then on the worker node over here we have nginx. We also have nginx. So nginx listens on a whole range of ports. Nginx listens on all of those ports. So I think CADvisor maps to. I think I have it where CADvisor maps to. This and this maps to. I can't remember. But yeah, they all map to something within here. We'll go over that later. Either Prometheus or... Prometheus doesn't actually have to be exposed. I just have it exposed for debugging purposes, but you can turn that off if you like. Just to sort of like harden the environment a little bit more. It still has basic authentication in front of it though, so... Anyway, so nginx listens on a whole bunch of ports, and with port 80, it redirects to port 443, which goes to Grafana. With all of the other ports, they just go to their various services. For things to either scrape metrics from or deliver metrics to. Deliver logs to. And then on the other server, on worker servers, we have nginx listening, reverse proxy again, HTTPS and basic authentication. We have CADvisor, we have the Docker metrics server, we have Node Exporter, and we have Prometheus pushing logs again to Loki. So that's how everything works. So the technologies that we're using is we're using Ansible for deploying. We're using Ansible for deploying our stuff onto our configurations onto the machines. The container runtime that we'll be using is Docker, just because, Docker, it's used everywhere, easy to install. The log ingestion service that we're using is Loki, the metric scraper is Prometheus, the scraping endpoints are Blackbox, SNMP exporter, Node Exporter, CADvisor on x64 machines, because CADvisor is not supported on ARM unless you build a CADvisor container, which I'll probably do eventually, and the Docker metric server. The logging agents that we're using is Prometheus, the graphing visualization server we're using is Grafana, and the reverse proxy that we're using is nginx. So, I have a Grafana server that I can demo to you guys. So, here we are. a lovely Grafana server. I have two dashboards. I have one for my microtip gear, so I can show you that goes that really quickly. So if we just have a look at, this is the last 30 days, but if we have a look at the last 15 minutes, we see lots of cool stats about our traffic. Just interesting stuff, kind of useful if you need to debug things. But yeah, so that's my main router, and then I also have an access point. You know, this guy, I think, is a little bit more busy, just generally. Yeah, so that there is Grafana. That's just SNMP stuff. Didn't make any changes. But this here is my actual sort of node dashboard. So, you know, I have things like RAM usage, CPU usage, disk used, the Docker containers per host, disk IO. I have a whole bunch of logs, sys logs, Docker logs. I have DNS logs from my Pi-holes if they want to load. I don't know if they do. The logs make my laptop a little bit laggy. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I'm just gonna close this. Oop. Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, that didn't close. Squeeze me, please. Yeah, there's just, I think it's just like a lot of JSON going on, so it makes my laptop a bit slow. Anyway, yeah, so that's Grafana, so pretty metrics everywhere. I'll show you guys how to do the Grafana metrics in another video, because this video would just be way too long. Next up in the slides, we have Prometheus. So, with Prometheus, as I said before, you don't have to have this open. I just do for debugging purposes. So if we just go status targets, we can check like all of our probes and make sure that they're working. And if something is not reachable, it'll say, you know, it'll say that it's down. But at the moment, you know, we have 12 out of 12 up, 2 out of 2 up. 2 out of 2 up, 12 out of 12 up, 8 out of 8 up. Now these are only on x64 machines, so these are just running on a bunch of VMs. Yeah, so all my Raspberry Pis aren't in this list. And yeah, black box, all of my black box probes for various websites that I look after. Oops. But yeah, so that's that. What's next on the agenda? Oh, nothing. Yeah, so now I guess I should probably show you guys the code and how to run it. So over on my development machine, I've got some Ansible stuff set up. So I've got an Ansible playbook. That Ansible playbook calls the roles monitoring, and so that role it uses the host Ubuntu, which is all of my Ubuntu hosts in my host YAML file, and they have a bunch of variables. Those variables are the user that you want to use, like for logging in, passwords, escalation passwords, the Loki API address, so like the API server for Loki, HT user access, so this is for basic auth, whatever user you want to create, you should put it here. For SNMP, if you set it up on your devices, you want to put all that here, and for GitHub stuff, you want to put that here as well. Then for monitoring, yeah, so then we go to main. So the first thing we do is we set the time zone. You might want to update this to your time zone. I should probably make that a variable. Then we're going to install some packages on all the nodes. We're going to install all these packages. We're going to install some Python requirements. Excuse me. We're going to install some Python requirements. Then we're going to create a Docker network. Then we're going to install, for anything running the server tag, we're going to install containers. So we're going to run install containers, which creates a bunch of config directories, deploys a bunch of config files. So in these config files, you're going to have to update them. So the Prometheus config file, for instance, you're gonna have to update. Sorry, that's Prometheus. Yeah, Prometheus. You're gonna have to update all of these scrape targets to be your own machines, or else it's just gonna scrape my stuff. So you're gonna need to update all of these scrape targets. If you don't want SNMP, just comment it out, delete it. If you don't want black box, just comment it out or delete it. But yeah, you're gonna have to update this quite a bit to sort of match your environment. I'll post the link for the documentation below. It is a Ginger template, so you can do cool Ginger things if you want. Yeah, so we're gonna install containers. We're gonna deploy these files. Oh yeah, the same thing with the SNMP exporter. So this will work for MikroTik routers just off the bat. If not, there is an SNMP exporter config generator that you can use, which I will post in the description. In the description. Yeah, so then you can just generate your own config and do other SNMP stuff. So then we go ahead and deploy a bunch of containers. We deploy Loki, we deploy Blackbox, SNMP exporter, Prometheus, Grafana. Yep, so that's all easy. Then we go back to main. Then we install the monitoring agents. So monitoring agents is just installing node exporter and then Prometheus doing something to the Docker daemon config. So that's just enabling the metrics address. So the metrics API address. Then after that, we did do some things with the Docker Loki plugin, but it's not really working, so we're just going to skip that. Then we start CADvisor on machines that can run it, so not ARM machines, so only x64. Yeah, and that's about it. Oh yeah, so that's it for the agents. Then we go and install the nginx reverse proxy. So the only reason why this isn't tagged is because it's tagged in the actual tasks. So we create a folder for it, we create some folders for it, we create private keys, we create SSL stuff for it, we do HD access password, that's pulled from the variables in the group variable file. Then we just deploy nginx. There's also some nginx configuration files. So if you want to update anything, you can just use these. In templates. In monitoring templates, nginx is the agent and the server configuration file for nginx. So let's go back to install nginx. Yep, so you just deploy nginx, and that's it. That's the end of it. So, if we were to run this on our monitoring server, what we would do is we would say Ansible playbook, playbooks, deploy monitoring.yaml, inventories, this inventory, vault password file. So I have all of my stuff encrypted with Vault, with Ansible Vault. So you may or may not need this. I also have SSH keys already set up on my machine to work with these computers, so I don't have to worry about SSH keys. You may need to worry about SSH keys. And then we're just gonna run it with the tags parameter, and just say the tags, the server tag. We're just gonna say run it with the server tag, and we're gonna limit it so it's only gonna run on my monitoring server. So if we just hit enter on that, it should run. So now that that has finished running, we can now SSH onto the server. So I know that this is 0.22, so if we just SSH onto there, we docker ps, we can see all of our containers running. So that should give us that should give us at least the basics, or at least the beginning of our stuff. So then, after that, what we're going to want to do is we're going to run it at the Ubuntu level, so we're going to want to run everything, but then not, so exclamation mark for not, the monitoring server. And the tag we're going to want to run is agent. So we run that. And we see what happens. So now that that's like an Ansible playbook has run, everything should now be deployed. So I guess we can just double check that by running over to Chrome. And we'll just check our interfaces. Oops. Sorry, I used to run it on port 3000. There we go. So there's Grafana. Sorry. We'll send that in HTTPS. So here we can see that. Oops, let me get my admin creds. Here. So we can check Prometheus. Oops. Go away. And we can also check Grafana. And Prometheus status, targets, and we can see all of our things. Alright. Yeah, so that is the monitoring setup. I will do a video on how to do the graphs later, but for now I think this should be good. Let me know what you think. I don't know, comment, like, whatever. Let me know if you'd like me to do anything else, and yeah, thank you very much.